In 1942, with the United States' entry into World War II, many of America's baseball players went off to serve their country, and baseball's biggest attraction emerged in the form of a tall, lanky pitcher named Satchel Paige. With an assortment of blazing fastballs, off-speed pitches, and different arm angles, Paige baffled opposing hitters and delighted crowds everywhere.
So I went down to the edge of the grandstand, you know, with all the kids, and they were watching Satchel Paige warm up. And he had this a double windmill wind-up. Dizzy Dean used it, and an old comedian named Joey Brown, who did a great movie called Elmer the Great, used it in the movie. Nobody uses it now, but that was, in those days, it was not uncommon. And I remember Satchel warming up, and then they'd sling the ball sidearm.
Well, the first time Paige came to town was to pitch for the Grays against a team of white all-stars, military people, including Cecil Travis, of the Senators, which, you know, black people thought was an incredible phenomenon. Here you had the best black team playing against the best white player on the Senators. Cecil Travis, you know, who of course in '41 finished third for the batting title in the American League behind Ted Williams, who hit .406, and Joe DiMaggio, whose 56-game hitting streak was that year. And then Cecil Travis finished third in the batting race that year. So Travis played the Grays, and the Grays won against his team. It was basically Cecil Travis and a bunch of, you know, nobodies, not even, and a bunch of Sandlot players, really, who were in the military. Next time Paige comes to town, it's the Monarchs against the Grays. You had the best team in the West against the best black team in the East, and it was a mob scene. Some of the papers claimed 32,000 people crammed themselves into the ballpark, which they'd only reported 28 even during World Series time back in the 20s with the Senators. So they really caught on, and it was a great game. It went to extra innings. The Grays came back and won 3-2 against Paige and the Monarchs. Paige did his usual routine. Paige, because every place where the Monarchs would go, people wanted to see Satchel Paige. Obviously, Paige could not pitch 9 innings every place he went. So he pitched 5 innings in Washington. Sometimes in smaller towns, he'd only pitch 3. But he pitched 5 innings in Washington. Then Hilton Smith, who's also in the Hall of Fame now, relieved him for another 5. And the Grays won in 10. But I think that really cemented this love affair between the black community and Washington.
I have a picture of Satchel Paige in my home. And Satchel Paige, a lot of people don't know, was a barnstormer, the original barnstormer. He would go from game to game, and people don't know that he played for so many teams because he was a gate attraction. So for one day he may play for Pittsburgh, the next day he may play for the Grays.
Then I got to play against Satchel Paige and his All-Stars at the end of the '46 season. Bob Feller had a barnstorming trip, and we traveled the country in 2 planes and played the whole month of October. Different city. In fact, we played 11 doubleheaders on that trip. Maybe you've heard or read about that trip. And Satchel and Feller pitched the first 3 innings of every game. So got to hit against Satchel quite often.
A legend of the game, Homestead Grays catcher Josh Gibson was considered one of the best power hitters to ever step up to the plate. His home runs are still described in mythic proportions. Baseball fans called him the Black Babe Ruth.
Gibson was called the Black Babe Ruth because of his home run prowess. That alone sort of really doesn't do him justice. He didn't sort of spin around like a top, like Reggie Jackson would hit. You know, he was a short strider. He was a little more like, he was built, and he was huge for someone of that time. He was about 6'2", but he was really more of a guy who took a real short stride when he swung, so he was never off balance, and he was a great breaking ball hitter. I mean, he could hit the fastball. The book on Gibson was, don't throw him breaking balls. Try to throw him a fastball and sneak one by him. But even that was sort of a fool's errand because Gibson knew you were trying to sneak fastballs by him and he would hit him out of the park.
As an 18-year-old kid in 1930, he almost hit a ball out of Yankee Stadium. Came within about 2 feet, they estimate. It didn't go out over the roof or hit the roof, but it went into the bullpen. And a little higher than it would have gone over the bullpen wall into the street.
Well, Gibson really made Griffith Stadium look like a bandbox. They played 40 games at Griffith Stadium in 1943, the Grays did. Gibson hit 10 home runs that year in 40 games. Maybe it might have been 11. The entire American League, however many hitters there were in, I guess there were 154 games in a season, so you had 72 games at Griffith Stadium, then hit 9 home runs over that left field wall.